Hi, folks. Chris Voss here from the ChrisVossShow.com, the ChrisVossShow.com. Hey, we're coming here with another great podcast. We certainly appreciate you guys tuning in. You guys are the best audience. As always, we have the most brilliant leaders, thought leaders, authors, people who come out with the best stuff, who've great CEOs of their companies, brilliant minds that are coming to the Chris Voss Show to share their data with you. Today, I have as always, most excellent guest. It's Gary Shapiro. He is the president and CEO of Consumer Technology Agency, CTA. It's a U.S. trade association that represents more than 2,200 consumer technology companies and owns and produces, you may have heard of it, the biggest show in the world, it seems, the CES show. And he directs a staff of more than 160 employees, thousands of industry volunteers, and he leads the organization's promotion of innovation as a national policy to spur the economy, create jobs, and cut the deficit. I've heard that's good. He has testified before Congress. I've seen him in the White House over the years signing bills or watching bills be signed. I should put it that way. I think I just made you president. He's also been named one of the top lobbyists in Washington, D.C. and one of the most 100 influential people in Washington by Washington Life magazine. He's authored 3 books, and his newest one's coming out. We'll talk about it here. Ninja Innovation, the 10 Killer Strategies of the World's Most Successful Businesses. The Comeback, How Innovation Will Restore the American Dream. And his newest, Ninja Future, the secrets to success in the world of innovation. Welcome to the show, Gary. How are you today?
Chris, it's great to be here. I'm so honored to be on your show, along with that great introduction and all the leaders. I have to say, as a U.S. taxpayer, I feel I've paid many bills, but I haven't signed any bills yet.
If you run for office, I will vote for you. So there you go.
That's terrific. Well, there's one.
Full disclosure, I'm friends with Gary on Facebook, and I'm honored to say you're just a wonderful, genuine person. You have a beautiful family on Facebook, and so I get to see your adventures in life and business. I've seen you testify in front of Congress, and then, of course, you have to put up with me in my Siberian Husky pictures.
Yes, well, it's the intimacy of Facebook reveals a lot about us that my wife chooses to reveal.
Yeah, they make me take down all my nude pictures. So other than that, there is a lot of intimacy on Facebook. So you've got a lot going on. Tell us about this new book.
Well, this is my 3rd book, as you mentioned, and the last one focused on the Ninja innovation was so popular. We decided to do another one in the Ninja series, while the last one focused on what the best businesses did. This is more of a forward-looking book about the technology and the future that we know is coming, some of the things we think are coming. And it focuses on what a person, a business, a government can do to survive in these rapidly changing times. I mean, there's no question that we're living in an era of history that we're all sharing here, which is the most phenomenally revolutionary time in the history of mankind in terms of innovation and technology. It's almost logarithmic. So we're heading towards a future of self-driving cars and robotics and artificial intelligence. We're 5G, which we'll, of course, see at CES, as well as just fundamental changes in medicine and healthcare. And we're getting older. And all these things are happening. We're living longer. And we need assists, and technology will provide them. Certainly, it's going to make us live longer and longer and solve our healthcare problems and food production and clean water. And we're moving to cities more and more, and we're going to have to deal with smart cities. And it's to say here, if you're a government or a business or a leader or just a person trying to survive, and you want to understand that and benefit from it, then here's what you should know.
And they can get your book on amzn.to. I guess the release date is when?
It's you could order it now. It's ships December 31st. It'll be at CES. I'll be signing at CES a number of different times and meeting people. I really enjoy that because I read people who've read my prior books and they come back for more. It's great. Well,
you definitely have a heck of a peak outlook on everything that goes on with business in our world, because I admire how you do it, because you have to deal with, I mean, how many people show up at how big is the CES show? Give people an idea as to how large that show is.
It's the largest business event in the world.
Yeah.
It has over 180,000 people come. It's not open to consumers. We get about 7,000 press, including you, thankfully, that come, as well as 4,000 plus exhibitors. We get about 1/3 of the people that come. We had 65,000 people come last January from outside the United States. And it fills so much space. It's unbelievable. So, Las Vegas has 3 of the 10 largest convention centers in the country. We end up using the 3 that they have in different ways. Plus, we have all sorts of hotels that we fill. It's really it's a big deal because no one can see all of it, no matter how hard they try. But people are inspired because they see a bright future. And increasingly, we're finding actually that policymakers from around the world are coming. We have several ministers coming from many different countries. We have cabinet secretaries from the United States. Of course, we have legislators, and we have a whole bunch of government people whose job it is to see what's out there. And we always divide the government officials into 2 types. One is those that have been to CES and those that haven't. Those that have been to CES understand the dynamism of innovation and how that they have to be careful that they don't mess it up, because the U.S. has done pretty well in it. And then there are those who stay in their, they're inside the beltway, never get out, or their ivory tower, or academics, and they're always proposing things, which frankly, my job is to make sure some of these proposals don't become law, because they would quash innovation. And I think of so many things, the directions we've almost gone in the last few years. I'm pretty grateful. We've had a pretty good track record of allowing and encouraging innovation, which I feel has been my life's work.
Yeah, and with CTA, you guys are a trade organization, so all these different companies, they subscribe or build into your association. You guys help represent them to the government, help lobby to make sure that they don't ruin innovation, and you guys can do all this stuff. The CES show is like so huge. You take over my whole city. It's just a hell of a giant toy store for me. I go there and I'm just like, oh my God, look at this, look at this, look at this, look at this. And it's always like, sometimes it's stuff that's coming out next year. Sometimes it's stuff that might not hit the retail markets for years to come, but it's so huge. You take over my whole city and it's just awesome.
It is exciting. Since I went to my first CES last century, I just said I want to be part of this, and I managed to get myself a job. I was an outside consultant to the organization, and they offered me a full-time job. So I've been going for a long time now, and the transformation's been unbelievable. I mean, it was a great show when I first went there, but now it's the world's best show in the world in terms of getting people who like you, who are excited about the future. And it's an optimistic view of the future too, I might add, in the sense that you think things will be better. We could see like the healthcare portion of the show is growing so quickly, because now, we talk about the opiate problem. Well, there's all sorts of companies that will be exhibiting there that show ways of dealing with pain without using drugs, ways of monitoring without having to go to a doctor's office, ways of accessing all things, ways of avoiding, ways of monitoring our parents who are getting older, and we can't be there with them. There's so many solutions that are coming using technology, and a lot of it is artificial intelligence. A lot of it will be 5G, but it's also, as I talk about in the book, it's these little sensors that have gotten so cheap because there were literally billions of smartphones, that the micro electromechanical sensors, MEMS, and they actually, these tiny little things you can barely see, actually measure things like movement and temperature and location and even smell, or you name it. They're starting to measure almost everything. And you put those together in ingenious ways, as entrepreneurs around the world are doing, and you're solving a lot of fundamental human problems, whether how much water to give your crops, or whether your kid or dog will be safe if they go outside a certain area. I mean, there's so many things that are being solved today that just used to be huge problems years ago.
I forget what the term is. There's an IBM term, the Watson rule. It's a rule where within a certain segment things double and it was with the processors, I believe. And we're just living in that time, like you say, that it's just things are moving faster and faster, and the innovation and the things that are happening are moving faster. I think, like you say, also health is driving. The big thing is baby boomers get older, as Gen Y, or is it Gen Y or Z? Gen Y, people like me are getting older, and we're starting to go, hey man, we need some better meds, we need some better ways to fix us and repair us and keep us going for longevity. And it's just amazing what's being done out there. And going to the CES show is just the funnest thing I do every year. Last year, DigiOps named me one of the top 15 influencers for talking about CES show. So clearly I have a big mouth and never shut up about it. I love CES. But I don't know how you manage that show. It is so huge, and you must have just a hell of a team. Do you take like a whole month off after you're done with the CES show?
Honestly, no. The person you're talking to arrange this has convinced me that I have to be in Davos, so we'll be there right afterwards. But we do have an amazing team, the best people in the trade show conferences world. Of course, everyone recognizes that, and people try to steal them. But you mentioned the doubling of. It's like we don't invent anything. It's a great team, including me, but we don't invent anything. There's like brilliant scientists, engineers, entrepreneurs that are making things happen. But Moore's law did say you double every 18 months or so, but that's almost come to an end. So the next stage, and we're going to have the CEO of IBM, Ginny Rometty, speaking about it, is quantum computing. So right now, the way digital works, everything's zeros or ones. That's the way it's been for the last 30 years for digital, even more going back in computers. But now we can't get it smaller. But they're saying, between the 0 and 1, there's another thing which could be created, a maybe. And that logarithmically increases the opportunity. So not everyone, big companies like IBM and Intel and others are in a race to see who could get to quantum computing first. Because if you can get to quantum computing, everything becomes very fast in terms of coming up with things. It's also the basis which we'll be talking about for blockchain, if you think about it. So blockchain, which confuses the heck out of me until I keynoted at a conference, and I talk about and explain it a little bit in the book, is blockchain is basically, also works on this principle of it's just not zeros and ones, it's just not one another. You go along the way and you validate information, and if you have enough ways of validating it, you expand the opportunity to prove things and to do right without actually having to expose confidential information essentially along the way you're validating it. So the more choices you have to validate something rather than yes or no, and you go to a likely, and it becomes more and more likely as there's more validation, then you could do a lot more things on the internet in a secure way.
I use that in my Tinder profile. Is that a yes or no or a maybe?
Well, I got to tell you the story since you've raised it. Listening to a French mathematician explain all these things at this blockchain conference I spoke at, he went through all these. I thought it was the most fascinating thing in the world. He said, airline pilots, when they have a co-pilot, everything is yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. But they found it's more effective to say yes, strong no, no, and maybe no. And then they can make better decisions about whether, because the airplane pilots only have like 3 choices. They go, they stop, or they shift direction. So basically with that, they're making better directions. And it's all just more mathematical possibilities. And when you get to a strong no, you really have to do something, as opposed to a weak no, where you just look at it a little more carefully. And I asked him if my wife and I could make decisions on that basis. And he said, only if you have several wives, which I really didn't understand.
You're assuming that your wife lets you have a choice. The only no you don't want to hear in a cockpit is the really strong no that's like, no! That's the one to the passengers, right? The bad no right there. So CES show is just huge. CTA is huge. And it seems like every year this thing gets bigger. It's bigger this year, I'm sure, correct?
Yeah, it's pretty much the same size as last year. The footprint will be a little bit bigger. We honestly don't know how many people will show up till after the show is over and we're independently audited. I mean, there's all sorts of ways of measuring it, but by almost every measure, it's phenomenal. We're a little landlocked right now in Las Vegas because there's only so much convention space. They're building a new convention center. They've broken ground, and the next couple of years there'll be some dislocations, but eventually we're going to have a brand new convention center and a remodeled old convention center. We'll have more space, and there's a lot of construction going on in Las Vegas. Well, you actually probably know better. I just spent the day yesterday with a lot of the top executives in Las Vegas, and there's some great things happening in Vegas with new hotel rooms. There'll be 10,000 new hotel rooms in the next few years, and all sorts of great things are happening. Las Vegas is a city that always is reaching for something better, and we have a great relationship with them. And just the number I learned yesterday, so you'll be the first that'll hear this, is the number of flights during CES has expanded so radically just during that 1 week that there are 19,500 additional passenger seats that were added by airlines just for CES. Yeah. So, and 10,000 of those are domestic and 9,500 are international.
Yeah, you've probably been the contributor of the expansion of this, like the Sands Convention Center and the Las Vegas Convention Center. Just like every year, they're just trying to grow and grow and grow and make it so they can accommodate you guys every year. You guys just dominate the city, but it's fun when you guys are here. It's just you guys own this city when you're here, and it's awesome. And I mean, you guys take up all these giant convention centers that are the size of small cities almost, and then you're in several of the hotels, I believe the Venetian, and you just spread out and take over the whole city. And thank God we've got Uber and Lyft here and more taxi cabs, because it's a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, the only issue for us and for your Las Vegas viewers, transportation around Las Vegas is one of our biggest challenges. I mean, we pay millions of dollars for buses, and but a lot of the Uber and Lyft we fought to get in Las Vegas. I was stranded one time in Las Vegas on the outskirts, and I know if you're not on the Strip, boy, you had no choices. Now you do.
If you get stranded.
But there are there's a lot of traffic. Now, what we do is we encourage people to plan their days in Vegas so they don't move around a lot. Like, go to one area, map out your day. And by the way, anyone who's going, including you, I urge you to download the app. Not only does the app help you get from one place to another and tell you what's going on, and it's geofence and located, but there's safety features on that app where if you see something, you report it. If also there's issues with sexual harassment, there's all sorts of ways of dealing with any potential crisis or emergency. And that app we've invested a huge amount to make it as effective, the best app in the world for an event. And it obviously requires people to use it. And we're looking forward to everyone using it this time.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I noticed that in the new app when I started using it. You guys have a security measure in there where you can get right through to someone for security. I think that's awesome. I've been loving the security steps you've been taking, because these are big events. There's a lot of people crammed into a lot of places. I'm so glad I can bring my press bag in and out of CES.
Well, we have a partnership with LiveSafe, which does a lot of major college campuses and corporations, and they've been very fast growing in terms of their way of helping encourage safety at physical facilities around the world. And also a lot amazing things, like allows you to work with your colleagues and companions to make sure they get to their car safe, get a ride. It does all sorts of great things, which I think is just so cool, because the world is a place where we have to be careful. I mean, after that Las Vegas incident last year, which horrified us all, we're very, very sensitive, and we do all sorts of things. We deal with a lot of dogs, and I'm not going to go into all the security things we do, but trust me, it's top of mind.
I always feel very secure when I'm at CES, and it's just gotten better over the years. Every year you guys seem to be investing in. So what are you excited to see this year at CES? What are you excited from what you've seen from your vantage point?
Well, artificial intelligence is going to be throughout the show, AI, because it's the basis of solving a lot of problems that we have as human beings in the future. And a lot of companies are having interesting things. And the health area I mentioned is going to be very, very big. We're actually certifying doctors with medical education credits. We have a whole program at CES because there's so much health related there. That's exciting. 5G, every 10 years, there's a new G. It started in 1980 when the cell phone, 1990 was 2G, 2000, 3G, and now we're in 4G. But 5G, Verizon, AT&T, top people are speaking. You'll see it at Qualcomm and Intel. I mean, everyone's talking about these things. The telecommunications companies are there. And there's a global battle, both in AI and in 5G, and we see that play out. Smart speakers, we see also the battle between some of the major companies being fought out. We have C-Space, which is focused on content and entertainment and production, where we have CMOs from around the world, because they got to know every new platform, every new change, because if you're there first, you win. If you're there last, you pay the most. Think about like Google word searches or something like that. So they all gather to learn about the platforms, and the platforms are all there. And then, of course, there's self-driving cars, and that auto portion is just huge. And it's more future-oriented. It's not a public car show. It's a show where the ecosystem is there for cars. And we have a new thing called Resilience, connected with smart cities, which we introduced in 2018. Resilience is focused on the fact that people are moving to cities. There's a local movement. There's climate change. There's all these things going on. And we want to give people technology and the tools to deal with the fact that when you're moving everyone in a city, you're changing how things are delivered. You're having things like electric scooters. There's new ways of transportation, but there's new ways of getting food and provisioning and utilities and everything. And also surviving, I hate to say it, but electrical breakdowns and things like that. There's like a company, for example, that takes air from the Las Vegas desert and sucks out the humidity and turns it into water that you could drink. I mean, there's really cool stuff, and the third world implications for some of this stuff is absolutely huge. So there's a whole focus on resilience, and actually, the guy who pushed us to do this, Dr. Carmichael Roberts, is not only one of our board members, but he also is running Microsoft, Bill Gates' new foundation fund that's focused on resilience. He has like $1 billion to spend investing in companies which do stuff like that. So this is world-changing, human-changing stuff out there, and to me, it's so exciting to see it all in one location, not only in our event, to be honest, but events around the world. I mean, these things are happening. And although I'm a cheerleader for the technology industry, the truth is I love going to these events like ours. And I enjoy going to other events where I don't have any responsibility and seeing, basically people learning about these new things and focusing and cutting deals and seeing a 5 sense experience and then judging each other as people, forming relationships. And the value of serendipity is so huge. Just the discovery of something you never would have thought of. Because success in the business world today, and I talk about this in my book a little bit, is going across from one vertical to another, discovering something you didn't know. You can't just be an expert in accounting or in trains or in electronics. You have to go and deal with people across that you've never thought of before, across cultures, across countries, and across industries to succeed and to be a real innovator today.
And that's the beauty of CES show. It's this adventure where you go booth to booth and you're like, what do you got? What do you got? And you see the stuff that just blows your mind. Some of the thinking that people are going into. You guys have some of the greatest speakers in there. In fact, I just saw our good friends at AT&T have John Donovan, the CEO of AT&T Communications, that they're beginning. I think they're keynoting this year.
Yeah, and I might add also Hans Vestberg, the CEO, the new CEO of Verizon, and we got the two top companies in the U.S. and plus we have other telecom communications companies that I don't know if we've announced yet. So I'll be careful what I say. But the point is, thank you, Rob, by the way, for giving us our 2020 marketing campaign. CES, it's an adventure. I love that. Yeah,
CES the adventure. It'll be on your shirts for CES there, and just by Chris Voss on the byline.
By Chris Voss.
It'll be fun to see AT&T there. AT&T, of course, helps the Chris Voss Show at all these events. Oh. And they keep our bandwidth running so that we can broadcast live from the show and everything. What's really great is they put in the Las Vegas Convention Center put in like extra things so you can get really good cellular connectivity inside the giant buildings now.
Yeah, I mean, that used to be the number one complaint at CES was Wi-Fi at CES and cellular service. And, those complaints I haven't heard in a couple of years.
It's awesome in there. I can do my live broadcasting. And, of course, like I said, AT&T really helps us out. We have the GoPro cameras that we'll be excited to see their booth this year. And, of course, the Samsung Galaxy. I'm a big Samsung fan. So Samsung always has just this giant setup at CES that's just fun to go through.
That's I mean, Samsung is definitely one of the most beautiful companies in terms of how they display themselves. It's absolutely huge what they do, and it's always exciting. I look forward to seeing what they're doing.
I got to be honest with you. I'm not really that excited about 5G. I'm holding out for 6G.
Well, let's hope we live long enough to, I guess that'll be in 2030, 2029.
Oh, God, is it really going to take that long?
For 6G, yes. But for 5G, I promise you, Chris, you will have a 5G phone in the next 2 years.
I probably will, thanks to AT&T. We've had a great relationship with them since 2011, and they make sure we have the fastest upload and download speeds. Plug.
There you go.
It's awesome that Verizon's coming, and they'll be keynoting as well.
Yes. And we see telecommunications executives from across the pond in Europe and others, and we see a lot of the companies because they want to see the future as well. And this 5G battle, AT&T is doing fantastic, actually, but it is a global battle, and it's something that we're focused on because lower latency speeds, broader bandwidth. It's going to be, I think, part of the self-driving car solution because if another car is approaching, you need to know it. You need redundancy in those systems to make sure. I mean, we're talking about life and death situations that 5G will help foster and protect, which is why I think there will be a rollout. Also, Chris, I'm sure you're aware the 5G uses these tiny little dishes, and there'll be a lot of them. And it's not as difficult to place as the big dishes we've used for the other Gs, but it will require more of them. But that bandwidth they get, people, especially in the urban environment, people are going to love. And there's already deployments occurring.
AT&T
is already deploying 5G. You'll be able to buy phones. They're being sold, and you'll learn more and more about them in the next year. It's going to be the story. You'll change your mind by next January. You'll be excited.
Oh, I'm sure I will. I just love that joke when I tell people, I'm like, I'm holding out for 6G, and they're like, what?
I believed you.
So there it is. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show, Gary. I certainly do, and I appreciate being a good friend of yours on Facebook and stuff. Everyone go check out his newest book. You can find it on Amazon, Ninja Future Secrets to Success in the New World of Innovation. Anything you want to part us with? Any thoughts on CES show coming up?
Chris, we appreciate your support. That, as we tell, you're a Las Vegas person, but people who haven't been there, drink plenty of water, wear comfortable shoes, and objects in Las Vegas are actually further than they appear.
The funny thing about your show is every year, like right about now, I have to start going to the gym. I gotta get my legs up. I gotta get my legs up for CES. I gotta start working out. I gotta get ready. And that's the one thing that everyone tells everyone: wear comfortable shoes. Like really wear comfortable shoes. And I make it my goal every year to walk that thing front to back. I'm like, I'm gonna see every inch of this bloody space. And I never have physically been able to do it, but it's still my goal every year.
Well, hopefully you'll never be able to do it, because if you do it, that means our show will have shrunk dramatically. Chris, thank you.
I'm thinking about hiring like a guy to put me on one of those dollies, and I'll just kind of stand and lean on it, and he'll walk me around, and I'll just be like, what is that over there?
There you go. Well, Chris, happy holidays, and I wish you health. And usually I tell the people safe travels, but safe getting around Las Vegas to get to CES. And I look forward to Chris seeing you in early January with stronger legs.
Sounds good. I'll look forward to seeing you too. Happy holidays, safe travels, and thanks to my audience for tuning in. We'll see you guys next time.
Thank you. You take care, Chris.